Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to take a look at a Recur figure. It's a Recur figure that I'm really quite pleased to have in my collection, as it's the very first pterosaur from Recur that I've had the pleasure of including into my collection. This is their Quetzalcoatlus, and it is definitely not the best Quetzalcoatlus figure out there. I can tell you that straight away. It's, I'd say, a decent-ish kind of, it's more like an okay version of a Quetzalcoatlus. But as far as like a Recur figure goes, it's, pretty much your standard Recur figure and definitely pretty cool looking overall. I do quite like the paint scheme that they've given it. I love the yellowish coloration of the beak and the yellowish coloration on the crest up there, because it really plays off of the darker body color quite nicely and makes those areas jump out at you, stand out, and really elaborates those areas and just generally gives the dinosaur a nice flashy look on an otherwise darker paint scheme. And the sculpt and detail, as far as like the fine detailing, it looks pretty good honestly on the figure. It definitely is decently sculpted, so I'm pretty excited about this one. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Quetzalcoatlus, you can again see some really nice detailing to the head sculpt as far as like those pycnofibers and everything that you see up here on the head sculpt of the Quetzalcoatlus is really quite nicely done, and you can see they've all been really nicely highlighted with a grayish coloration. It looks like they've dry brushed a nice gray over most of the body to make that detail pop out at you, and it definitely looks nice because of it. You can see those yellow stripes coming down from the top of the pterosaur down there onto the crest, and they do give it a little bit of a flashy look to the figure, and again they play off of the darker coloration really well, as does the beak. Once you move out here into the beak, you can actually see some really nice cracks and crevices included within, so there's some pretty decent detailing to the beak area of the Quetzalcoatlus, and you can also see a reddish coloration right here that kind of shows up in mid-beak, and as well as like some very nice, very faint coloration, like some stripes of like a reddish coloration that kind of run out the course of the beak, which as well helps to give it some color variation and make it look pretty fun overall. The beak also has a bit of a glossy look to it, so that is one potential realistic aspect of something that you could have seen on a species like this. The tongue is sticking up here on the inside of the mouth. You can see that the inside is painted with like a really dark red and also has a bit of a glossy look to it. Nothing going on that's crazy and amazing in there as far as the sculpt or paintwork, but it's pretty much just the standard inside of the mouth, I would say, for like a pterosaur. You can as well see that the nostrils are sculpted out on this, and that looks quite nice as well. Once we move back here into the head again, you can continue to see that the detailing aspect looks pretty nice. You can also see the eyes are painted with a dark red as well, similar to the dark red that we see right here, given a black pupil. Same deal over here. They look okay. I feel like maybe a different coloration could have worked a little better as far as the eyes, because of the fact that the body is so dark as far as like the black and the gray. Dry brushing that body color is really nice and dark, so the eyes don't stand out as nicely as, they could have if they would have given it maybe a lighter coloration in that area. As we start to move down the neck, you can continue to see how nice the pycnofibers look on the figure. You can also see a nice white coloration here in the throat region. It's a really bright white as it moves down the course of the body, and you can also see some hints of like blues and stuff that show up, which is a really cool little touch. And you can continue to see that the entire way under here. It actually has like a really nice shading in certain areas of like a bluish coloration, so that helps to give it a little bit of flashiness as well. And I actually really like the uses of the blue down there. But as we move down into the body, you can get a pretty good idea of the structure of the pterosaur here, especially in like the wing area. You can see the actual like arm area of the pterosaur. It runs the course, of course, out here as it's standing down here on all fours, and you can see it looks really good as far as the detailing and even the musculature aspect of the figure. And again, just like we had stated, it's really beautifully brought out as far as the light gray dry brushing they've given it. It makes all the pycnofibers pop, but also in general all the detail shine through really nicely. You can see that the skin folding and everything in the skin flaps of the wing looks really good as well. Lots of really nice detail in that aspect of the figure. And again, there's no real color difference going on. Like, you don't see any type of other color variation to the figure other than the black and the beautiful gray dry brushing, but I actually think it looks pretty good overall. It's something that's shockingly nice looking, because I would normally like a little more color variation to the figure, but they actually have done a pretty good job with this nice dry brushing, and again, allowing it to look pretty nice and natural overall. And then you come out here, you can see the tail of the pterosaur. Again, we've dry brushed that area as well, making sure that it pops quite nicely, as well as the legs and everything. You can see the nails are painted, but not very well. It's actually a little bit sloppy. You can see that certain areas only of the nails seem to have actually been hit with paint, so that area could have been a little bit better for sure. But the foot sculpt itself looks pretty fun, as it does up here. Again, same deal as far as the paintwork of the nails. It's just not really that consistent, I would say. And then looking at the opposing side of the pterosaur again, the animal is just standing there. Like, there's really no difference going on this side compared to the previous side as far as like positioning of the body or difference in the sculpt. It's literally the same thing on this side as it was on the opposing side. So there's no real differences that we're going to see. Over here, you can see the nails are painted a little better over here compared to the other side. I'm starting to think that maybe the point was to have the nails be the black coloration and then just kind of dry brush some of that like yellowish green over it to just kind of highlight the nails. If that's the case, then it doesn't look terrible, but it still could have been applied a little bit better. Again, the detailing aspect as far as like the fine detailing and everything goes looks really good over here on this side, just like it did on the previous side. The structure of the pterosaur is nicely displayed overall. You can even see like the spinal column and stuff up here, and really nice foot sculpt back here. And then we look here at the underside, and again, the underside sports a decently detailed look to it. It's not overly detailed, and it's not quite as nicely detailed as we saw up there on the top of the pterosaur, but it does look quite nice overall, and sports, again, a decent look detail-wise, but some really cool paintwork here with that white and blue. I really do quite like that. But overall, it's definitely a fun Quetzalcoatlus. Not exactly your most accurate Quetzalcoatlus, but still a pretty cool figure regardless. As far as the size goes on our Recur Quetzalcoatlus, it definitely sports some pretty good size overall. It's pretty tall, so if we run the tape measure to the tip of the beak there, you're looking at just shy of 8 inches or around the 20 centimeter range. And if we go for like a length from the beak to the tail, you're looking at about the 7 3/4 inch range or around the 9.5 centimeters. Yes, right around that area. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Bachylovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Recur Quetzalcoatlus, and you can definitely see that again. Like I was saying, the figure sports some pretty impressive size overall, especially in the height department. But being a Quetzalcoatlus, you would expect it to be pretty decently sized overall, and you could definitely see it is a good bit taller than Mr. Papo Rex. So I would say it's a decently sized figure, definitely in the larger size range. So this Recur Quetzalcoatlus figure is quite fun. It's definitely not the best Recur figure out there. There are some more appealing figures for sure, but I actually picked this figure up from Dejankins.com, and it seemed like some people were rather interested in it overall, so I did want to get a review up of it. Again, pretty decent looking sculpt, nothing over the top amazingly detailed, but pretty much like your standard Recur detailing. It has a pretty nice look overall with some beautiful pycnofibers that run the course of pretty much the entire body. Everywhere that you look on this figure, it is pretty much coated with pycnofibers, which gives it a really, really nice appearance overall and allows that dry brushing that they've applied to really stand out and pop quite nicely. They've also managed to add in a lot of really nice detailing, like the skin detail in the wings and everything, and some beautiful like bone structure to the animal. As you can see, like some nice musculature and like the shoulder blades and the spinal column and stuff are present throughout the sculpt. So that, in my opinion, is pretty appealing as well. The coloration is beautiful, if you ask me. I'm actually a huge fan of the coloration that they've chosen for the figure overall. I love the way that the yellows play off of the darker coloration. It just looks so appealing to me, and could have potentially been a color scheme that you would see on a pterosaur like this. It's a nice dark look for the figure, but at the same time it has a flashy look with the way that they've applied that nice yellowish coloration, and then some little hints of like reds here and there in the beak and the crest area. So again, the figure as a whole is pretty cool, being one of those softer, squishy type of a feel figures. It sports a pretty decent sculpt detail-wise overall, and definitely is a fun figure if you ask me. Once again, it's not your most accurate Quetzalcoatlus, and you'll probably never find your most accurate figure in a Recur figure, but if you are like me and you are a fan of the Recur style, you'll definitely dig this Quetzalcoatlus. So if you'd like to pick it up, I will include a link in the description to Dejankins.com where you can in fact purchase this, so make sure you check the description. Go ahead on over there and buy yourself a very cool Recur Quetzalcoatlus, and make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.